Hi everybody, I'm Jim Shore. Today we're not in my the big studio. We're in a smaller studio that we have set up at my lake house in South Carolina, and it's a area that we spend a good little bit of time here, and it's convenient to the house and also to the workshop that I have set up here to do prototypes and some initial things. Now, what I'd like to do today is I want to show you kind of how the process of creating these things begin. And before we generally start on the creative part of the carving, the sculpting, or whatnot, in order to create the physical piece that we make our initial molding out of, I generally do a fairly comprehensive sketch based off of a list that we make up in our brainstorm sessions. And the reason I make up a drawing like that is, well, for several reasons really. To begin with, it sort of gets me in the mood of where I'm going as far as the end piece. And it also gives me an opportunity to be able to communicate with everyone else who's involved in this process. And that's pretty extensive. No matter where they are all around the world, whether they're in sales or whether they're in the various phases of product development and that sort of thing. So it's easy for me to send them copies of the drawings, or so that they can see exactly what I'm looking at, and we can communicate a lot easier. So the way it normally starts, and this will be partly a drawing lesson for all of you out there who might want to improve your drawing skills and become better at it, because my technique, the way I do it, is a little bit different than you would learn, say, in art school or that sort of thing. It serves me well, and I think if you practice some of these things, it'll make, if you like to draw and you want to get better at it, I think this will make you better at it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start out with this just like we would on any project. In other words, I don't know what I'm going to draw until I either look at it on the list, or my assistant, Robin, who happens to also be my daughter, tells me what I should be working on next. So Robin's here operating the camera, and she's got a list here of some of the projects that they want in the future. She's going to pick one randomly, and I'm going to start laying it out just like I do, without any forethought or any advanced preparation. I'll start the layout, explain to you what I do step by step, and then I'll show you at the end of the day. I'll show you the finished product. So Robin, select something off the list and tell me what you want to see.
Okay, how about the Peanuts Christmas train?
Okay, Peanuts Christmas train. Now, as soon as that word is spoken, I, and probably you watching, can't help but to get an image of what a Peanuts Christmas train would look like. So it's going to have, I'm assuming, multiple cars. It'll feature the characters as I see it, and the main characters, of course, are Snoopy and his little sidekick Woodstock, and there'll be Charlie Brown, there'll be Linus, there'll be Lucy, there'll be Sally, and they'll be doing, in my mind, I envision them doing different things on the various cars that will be attached to this train, and that'll make up the train. So I'm all set and ready to go. Why? Because I don't worry about reference, because I've seen Snoopy. I know what Snoopy looks like. I don't need reference for Snoopy or for Sally or for Lucy or for Charlie Brown. And that's what I urge you to do. Think about this. Don't think about a reference piece or something that you're looking at and copying or tracing or something. Think about it coming from your mind, because you want the whatever you're doing to be a combination of what's right up here and here, not something out here and here. So it'll be fresher. It'll be more exciting for you, and it might be a little bit of a challenge initially. But if you practice this by getting that image in your mind and holding it there, solidifying it, I can, like right now I'm looking at the camera, but I can see that train in my mind clear as a bell, and that's what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to start out by laying out Now, sometimes I've done this for a long time, and so I kind of know what I'm doing. And so I start sometimes with full details, and I go from there. But if I'm a little unsure, or if you might be a little unsure, I urge you to start out with a loose layout. And I've got right here one of the tools of the trade, better known as a pencil. It's equipped with another very important feature too. It's an eraser, because believe it or not, not every stroke is divinely inspired. So you might, if you allow something up, no problem. It's just lead on paper. So I'm thinking of what this, the engine of this train is going to look like. And it's going to be driven, as I see it, by Snoopy. And it's going to be, maybe have Woodstock, what's that little bird, leading the way. We'll dress him up like a reindeer. So the way I start out is, you want to know what your parameters are to get your proportion right within the space you're working with. Whether it's a piece of paper, a canvas, a car hood, it doesn't matter. You start out by limiting yourself as to where your item or your subject is going to go on that paper. And I know basically it's going to go somewhere in there. So now I'm going to scribble on this thing like crazy, and it doesn't matter, because there's going to be a bunch of lines on here laying this thing out. Within those bunch of lines, there is the correct line. All I have to do is identify that and erase everything that isn't correct. Simple, right? Okay, so we're going to have the general shape of one of these old steam trains. So what I'm going to be doing is just laying out roughly what the steam train is going to look like. It's going to have a couple of wheels here. It's going to have a cow catcher in front. It's going to be on tracks. I'm going to have a base on it, like so. And I'm going to have up here okay, there's going to be a smokestack here. There's going to be one of those bell things there. The front of it, the light. And we'll have Woodstock flying maybe up here, and we'll connect him with a wire. Back here, we'll have Snoopy, and Snoopy will be sticking his head out, and of course this will be exaggerated, naturally. And he'll have his head out something like this, and we'll put a Santa cap on him. So this will be blowing in the breeze, and what that'll do is that'll sort of denote the fact that it is movement. So what I've got right now in just a couple of seconds is basically, and I'll show you this, very rough, very scribbled out parameters for what this thing's going to look like. And don't worry about this. If you think this is too big, well, just draw another line, make it littler. You think the wheel's in the wrong place, draw it in the right place. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're laying this thing out upside down or right side up, because why? Because you're working from here. If you want to see it upside down, you just turn it upside down in your mind. You lay it out, and I do that a lot. Just to get a different vantage point of things, and when I turn it back around, it's always correct. So, that is the starting point. Now that I've got it laid out in a way that I know where the train's going to go, I know how big it is, I know where Snoopy's going to go, I know where where Woodstock's going to go. Now I can start refining it and copying this image in my mind just exactly the way I see it. A lot of times I'll start with some feature that sort of dictates thing. I might start with, let's say this back drive wheel, okay? I'm going to draw this back drive wheel. And I am very good, by the way, at drawing circles. If you're not, just keep going round and round like this until a circle emerges, and so that's a pretty good circle, freehand. And then you just erase everything that is there, and it cleans it up right up. I'll tell you a little story. One time I took a course. It was a course in, I think, political science, but it ended up with or part of it was a history course too, and the instructor, the professor, whatever, was giving this talk about this artist, and I don't know the name of the artist, I can't remember the name of the artist, and I'm not really big on art history, so, but it was an artist trying to get the job from the patron, which was one of the Medicis or something like that. And in order to impress him, he freehanded a perfect circle. And, that was supposed to be so difficult to do that he got the job. Well, I piped up in class, and I shouldn't have in retrospect. But I said, that's nothing, I can do that. And so as soon as I said that, I knew I should have kept my mouth shut. That's always a good policy, keep your mouth shut, unless you got something really good to say. Okay, so the teacher said, oh, Mr. Shore, you can draw a circle like that, huh? Would you like to come up in front of the class and demonstrate that ability? I said, sure. So I went up. Now this is another thing about using your head, not using reference or not using, even concentrating on what you're doing, but make your hand do what you see in your mind. I saw a perfect circle in my mind. Then what did I do? I split that perfect circle in two. So I had I was looking at two circles. Why? Because if you look at something in mirror image, I was going to show them how to draw a circle with my right hand and a matching circle with my left hand. And so all I'm doing is making a mirror image of it. This hand does the same thing as this hand, only in reverse. It's easy. So I started out and went. Now on a molecular level, it probably wasn't perfect, but to the naked eye, it was a darn good circle. And she was so impressed that I got a pretty good grade out of that class, I think, based on that thing. But the reason I emphasize that is because it was, once again, me working between my mind and my hand. It wasn't some reference or something, or I wasn't worried about not making the circle. I was simply allowing my hand to trace what was in my mind. See? And if you do that, if you practice that, then all this stuff comes easy. Even perspective. Now this is something that a lot of people have difficulty with. They have difficulty with it because they try to memorize these formula and so forth and these techniques from the vanishing point and all this kind of thing to get proper perspective on, let's say, a building or a landscape or something like that. You don't need that. I don't ever use that. It's a matter of being intuitive. Why? Because when you look at it in your mind will already make the adjustments for you. And it'll be correct. How do you know it's correct? Because it looks stupid if it wasn't. It always looks right. If it's a house, you know that it's that vanishing thing. And all you have to do is pay attention to what is up here in your mind, and you put it down on paper. It'll make the angles for you. And it always works out. So I would harden this wheel up, and it's always got a counterweight on it, and it's got a hub, and it's got some spokes, and then the rim is kind of thick. So as I'm doing like this, the details are starting to harden up. Now, I want to put the main character in, and that's going to be Snoopy. Well, I know what Snoopy looks like because I'm looking at him right now in my head. And I'm just going to have a hat. I'm going to have his ears go back like he does sometimes, like that. Sometimes they go like this, but this way it's going to flow back here, so we got some movement. And he's going to have, let's say, one hand resting up here, like so, and then the other hand out here, and I'll put a little something around his neck, and so that basically gets me the general parameters of what Snoopy's going to be. Now, as soon as I harden that up, that'll be a detail. It's virtually finished now. As far as making the base, what the base is a straight line, right? People say, oh, I can't draw a straight line. Okay, great. I can, and I'll show you how. All you have to do is when you're drawing a straight line, you get your starting point and you draw like that. Now, is that a straight line? That's an extremely straight line. Now, the way I do that is I don't look at where I'm at on the line. I look at where I'm going on the line. So I always look ahead of myself. And I do the same thing if I'm carving or if I'm engraving or anything like that. If I stop here and I concentrate on this, there's any number of different directions that that thing can go. I don't want it to go there, I want it to go here. See? So I'm looking at a point, you know, that's continuation of where I started from. And I just keep going, and it's just dot by dot by dot by dot by dot, and the line always turns out straight. See? Same thing if you're doing, like if you wanted to draw the line, you know, down the, you know, say a vertical line, you know, it's the same thing. You just start out and you go like this, and you're always looking ahead, see? And that line, if you can see, that's a straight line. And it's a straight line because of what I just did. Now, I'll continue on with this and put in some of the features that I think would be kind of cute that I have in mind. I'll put a little scallop top on that. We'll put a lantern in front, so the lantern will be something like that. And that's, we can attach our wire for you know, for Woodstock, which is and we'll put some antlers on him, make him look like a reindeer. Now, as I go along, now I have to say, if I was doing this and, you know, without y'all watching, I would probably skip a little bit of this and go directly to some details. But I'm showing you how you can develop a drawing like this pretty easy, pretty fast, and make it right, and without a lot of the fuss that people you know, attach to you know, to the art of making a decent drawing. So as I do that, see, that's pretty close to what the finished thing would look like. All I have to do is harden that up. Let's say I harden it up like this. You know, and so that's the finished detail, you know. I've got the two wheels out here, which form you know, the undercarriage of the front. I start attaching things. I can attach some kind of a swing arm to this, and you know, and then it's just one thing after another. And then as I get farther along in this process of just going from point to point, making sure that everything gets done, I can come back and let's say I want to decorate this wheel, you know. So I give it a rim, and I give a little bit of a feature line in there. And let's say I want to make it kind of like a scallop shape in there, okay? Okay, so that's virtually the finished wheel right there, see? So I do that with everything. You know, this here, I don't know exactly what I would do then. Maybe I would, you know, I think it'd be kind of cute to, that's the cylinder. That's what the steam goes into, and it drives it back, or the piston and cylinder. It goes from just like this, just like it does in a car, and it pushes the wheel around. That's the way those things work. So detailing this, I would end up like that, and I might say, okay, it'd be kind of nice to make it like a candy cane. So I just simply, you know, start adding whatever features that I have formulated in my mind from that first suggestion that Robin gave me. So see, we're well on our way right now to having a pretty decent you know, finished drawing of this train. And I will harden up these lines like so. Give him his nose is black, so what I'll do is I'll put a little shine to it. So I'll have a little highlight, dark, and then I'll go lighter and lighter as I go down towards the bottom. And as you can see, it adds a little bit of life to that, to the nose. Okay. And I'll just move around this thing, and in just a very short period of time. Oh, by the way, on the base down here, where I will want the base to be something that will be consistent among all of the pieces. So I'll pick sort of a general pattern, and that's where putting in some of my sort of signature motif elements will come in. And what I'll do here is I'll do sort of like maybe a rose malling pattern. So I'll bring it out to there just a little bit farther. And that'd be the stopping point. And so I will do, and the way I do the rose malling is, rose malling flows kind of like vines do. So I just start laying in those elements like this, and it almost happens by itself, you know. Do that quickly. So there I have this row of rose malling that's, you know, that's reasonably attractive. Now when I go back and start hardening things in, you know, then I can put the embellishments in there that actually crisp this thing up and make it into the finished piece. But I start out just like that, see? And so before I know it, you know, I've got this, you know, finished drawing. And this only takes just a few minutes. Why? Because I'm not worried about thinking about something else. I'm not worried about, you know, being referenced. I'm not worrying about being true to something, because all I have to do is follow the image that I have solidified in my mind. It's easy once you practice it a while. So I'm going to take a little break here. I'm going to finish this up. Just a few minutes, I'll show you what the finished drawing here is going to look like, and then we'll work on the other pieces. Or I'll work on the other pieces, and then I'll come back in just a little bit and I'll show you the whole training. But this is not a prolonged, you know, practice. Actually, something I'm going to do, just decided. He's going to be looking more forward, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change his eyes, and I'm going to put his nose out here. There you go. Now you get more of a profile of him, okay? That's good. But it's not a prolonged procedure. It's a matter of, you know, doing the scribbling, hardening it in, and then, but always following what's in your head up here. So we'll take a little bit of a break. I'll be back in just a few minutes, and I'll show you the finished piece here. Then I'll take another break, finish out the rest of them as I see, with exactly the same technique, and then I'll show you what the full thing looks like. And we might even have my other assistant, Crystal, do a little color work on it. We might show you one or two of the pieces in color, and that's what we use as our guide for our color work. So I'll be right back. See you in just a minute. Okay, I'm back with you again. I've hardened up this drawing that we started just a little bit ago, and I've signed my name to it, and I'll eventually label this. I'll label it, I don't know, Peanuts Christmas Train or something like that, so that they'll know exactly what to reference it by. And I've done a little bit of the erasing on some of the stuff that I've scribbled. You can still see some of my scribbling lines here, and I'll clean all that up. I changed the direction of the rose malling down here, so it's a little bit different scheme than I had started out with. I want emanating from both directions rather than just from the front, so I switched that up a little bit. A few things like that you go along. And I've written Peanuts on here, so it's the Peanuts train, and you can see how nicely it looks with the configuration or the profile that I switched it over to before. I think it's better. And I've got the candy cane, like I was talking about, the little scallop on the wheels, and I've carried that out, and I've got sort of a little, I don't know, a bit of rose malling making up the spokes of the train. I've got some holly on here in reference, and here's Woodstock up here, sure enough, dressed up like a reindeer. So I'll continue cleaning this thing up by just simply erasing some of these lines. There's my vertical line. I'll get that out of there. And pretty soon it'll be, and this is, we're not talking about a long process. We're talking about a few minutes, really. You know, I'll do a drawing like this in a very, very short period of time. And, you know, I can continue on putting all the little details and stuff like that to make it. But that's basically the finished drawing. So we'll go and do color work on it, and we might add a little thing or two. But for the most part, this is exactly what what our finished sculpted or carved piece is going to look like. And then I intend on putting 4 more cars together that will be Charlie Brown, Linus, I think Sally, and Lucy. And they'll be doing things that you're familiar with them doing by watching the movies or reading the comic books or reading the comic strip. And so that'll make up the whole train. Now I'll be back in just a little bit. It'll take me a little bit of time to do these other ones, but I've already got it in mind exactly what they're going to look like, because like I've tried to stress to you, you're working from your mind to your hand. Not from some reference book, not from something out here. So it's not from there to here, it's from here to here. Okay? So I'll be back with you in just a little bit. Won't be in time for you, but it'll be maybe an hour or so for me, and we'll finish up these other little cars that I have in mind, and I'll show you what the whole train looks like. Then I'll have my other assistant that works with me and has for such a long time, Crystal, and she'll do a little color work on it. And I'll show you 1 or 2 of the pieces after they get colored, and you'll see the beginning of the process. Okay, we're back, and I've completed the other drawings like I told you I was going to do, and I've made a print of the initial drawing, brought it down to scale just a little bit so tighten it up, and then the other drawings I was going to make conform to this size. So as you can see, all the details are there. I've labeled it, and we'll do coloring for that, and we've done actually a colored piece, and I'll show you that in just a minute. I want to show you these other cars. This is Charlie Brown, and he's surrounded by presents. So there's enough detail in here, to make it really interesting, and yet it tells the story. There's kind of a narrative going on, even though oftentimes they're so simple. You try to make an impression by the elements that are surrounding the main character. It's like telling a little story. So and once again you can see that I've not duplicated the design on the base here, but I've gotten in the same style and so forth, so that when these things are all hooked together, that base will be consistent, and that'll be another element that visually ties these things together. You have to sort of consider that kind of stuff. Here's Linus, and if you know that story, he takes this spindly little throwaway tree and decorates it and does it, and ends up with a really nice tree, and this is the finished product. So that's this, and it's actually very consistent, as if memory serves me, to what he ends up with, and you can check me. But now another thing I didn't mention, I like to put in occasionally a little bit of a combination of folk elements, which the rose mauling is on the base. Here we've got some quilting and some different geometrics and that sort of thing. Adds a little pop of color, and it makes it kind of interesting. It's so much better to put a little something there than to leave it, void. So, okay, here's Sally, and I remember a strip one time during the Christmas season where she was writing to Santa, and if I'm correct, one of the things, the main gist of it was, "Dear Santa, I want it all." So that's what I put on here, and I thought it'd be kind of cute to convey that. And there she is writing the letter, and I've got some cookies and milk going over here, and once again some decoration along the bottom to flesh out the design. So what you're thinking here is you're not thinking only of the total drawing itself. I mean, a drawing of Sally on a train car is one thing. To make a total design with an interesting composition that'll hold people's interest, and that's one of the things I always say about my work. There's so much there, it's a pleasure to look at it for a long time to come. You don't get tired of it. So this is a good example of that. I could have left that blank. It would have made sense. Maybe the decoration, if it were real, wouldn't make sense. But in the design, the composition, and the way I've got it going here, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, now this is the last piece I've done, and this is this is Lucy. You know, she has that an ongoing theme with Lucy is she plays the psychiatrist, and she'll give psychiatric advice, I think, for a nickel or something. And so I've changed it to sort of conform to the season, and I've said Christmas cheer, 5 cents. And it says here, the doctor is, and a little sign in. So that's consistent with the story, and then I've sort of embellished it in a way that it tells her story, it's recognizable as her, and it also brings in the elements of the Christmas season. So it's, you know, it conforms to the Christmas train theme. So all together, those things will be put end to end and hooked together, and all together it'll make a train that'll be, once the pieces are finished and so forth, it'll make a very interesting, I don't know, maybe a focal point for decorating a tabletop or putting on a mantle or a coffee table or something. Anyway, it'll be a lot of fun. I think the kids will enjoy it too. Now, what I want to show you too is some of the pieces that we've done just a little bit of color work on, and colored up a little bit of the, keeping with the Christmas theme, we've got sort of a neutral gray background on this. And we might add a little bit of color additionally to this, maybe some, some other colors, but there's always a little hint of purple, and I guess you all know that story. You'll always find a little bit of purple on my pieces. And so here's another one that we've put a little bit of, now this is preliminary color too. We might come back and we might do some highlighting, some shading, some glazing, and so forth to make this look like the finished product. Here's the one of, this is the last one I'll show you. This is the one of Lucy, so you can see how it transitions, so dramatically from being just simply a line drawing to being something that has color. Now you can start imagining what that is going to actually look like in 3D and finished product on the shelf. So that is, my friends, is the starting point of the creative process of what goes on here. Start out with a drawing, and I hope you learned something from the way I set this drawing up. Like I said, I don't always do it that way, but it's and keep in mind that I am totally untrained. Okay, so what I tell you might be a little bit different than you might get in a classroom. But this is a process that works for me, and I think it's important to remember those the concept of tying your mind and what your mind's eye sees. Practice that and go from there. Not something external, something from inside here. And I think it'll be more enjoyable, you'll be more creative, and you'll be a better artist all along. And for those of you who are just enthusiasts over my artwork, and I think that this gives you a little bit of an insight of what the starting point is. Now, in time, maybe we'll go into some of the casting or some of the other aspects of product development and see it through all the way to the shelf. But for today, step one. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you again real soon. God bless you all.